Or okay? Okay. Prescription drugs, something to wonder about. When I was a kid, I remember back when a doctor would prescribe our family a medication. Most of the times my mother would just give us the med and not have any question about it and take the doctor's word for truth. Over the years and through my own educational experiences and life experiences, I've come to my own opinions about prescription drugs. I realized that we're all human. Some of us decide that we want to go to school. Some of us don't go to school and they go through life just fine. There's different levels of education, and some people have the doctorate level of education and experience that allows them to practice medicine. So does this mean that they are all-knowing and error-proof? I would say no, but so that's what we're here today. I'm here to share some information with you, share some food for thought, and convince you to be your own advocate and for your own good, for your own health, especially when it comes to medical professionals and prescription drugs. In this day and age, it seems that so many people just take, including myself in the past, have taken doctor's orders without a doubt as if they're all-knowing. Well, I've had a few experiences and I've heard numerous stories of medical malpractice and situations pertaining to prescription drugs. People seem to assume that because a doctor orders a medication that they know about it, or that they know about the interactions with your meds that you're on, and that's not always the case. Once when I started working in a group home, I was new to that group home, and there was a nonverbal man who had a rash. He was prescribed a medication, and on the side effects, there was something that stood out to me, and because of my experience with med administration and because of my pharmacy experience, I felt obligated to put in a call to the doctor's office. So I called the doctor's office, left a message. When they called back, they just said, well, if he seems okay, just have him continue to take it. Well, within a few days, he was in the hospital. And the medical professionals at this hospital were in awe because they couldn't believe that the doctor had even prescribed that in the first place. This is just one small experience of countless situations where the fine details of prescriptions have been overlooked. In 2002, I was busy learning the ins and outs of a small pharmacy, and one of my responsibilities was client interaction in regards to prescription coverage. It seemed like at that time, a lot of people were suffering from arthritis, pain, and they would come in with a prescription for meds like Vioxx or Celebrex. Well, the problem was that these meds weren't covered, and so unless they met criteria. That criteria was that they have to have tried and failed 4 other NSAIDs. That's non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen, naproxen sodium, like Aleve and stuff. They had to have tried and failed 4. So what I would do is I'd inform the patient of that information and basically tell them how to get the meds covered. So I would advise patients and get them what they wanted or what they needed. I remember looking back when I saw commercials and years later of the medication being pulled off the shelf and being on recall. I was in disbelief over the whole situation because, I mean, the effort that was put into it. I mean, these people were happy to be on those meds, and here they had been recalled and were considered harmful or dangerous. The Natural News editor, Mike Adams, this part I'm going to have to, he wrote about how there is evidence that shows that along with Merck, the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, they're supposed to be here to kind of protect us or to inform us, that they knowingly approved, promoted, and refused to recall a dangerous drug. Of course, this is Mike Adams, his opinion, but according to the evidence that was presented at the time. It says that this drug caused an untold number of fatalities among the American population. And this is in regards to Vioxx. Adams goes on to talk about how the FDA suppresses any information from its own scientists that might have something negative to say about the drugs that the agency's already approved. I mean, there was actually a couple doctors and scientists noted that had tried to warn the FDA, tried to warn them about these things, but they went ahead and approved it anyway. So the Natural News Network is a nonprofit collection of public education. It's a website covering important topics in regards to medication, public safety, and overall health. And I think it's a great resource for us to check it out if we have an interest in becoming our own advocate and taking charge of our own health. Because it seems that medical professionals, the FDA, and even our own government aren't doing enough to protect us, so we have to advocate for ourselves. Before the time of the Vioxx scandal, I didn't have a bad opinion about pharmaceuticals, and it's not like I hate them or, despise them right now, but I'm definitely a skeptic and leery of medications. I always make informed decisions when considering decisions for my own safety along with my children. So back when I worked at the pharmacy, I remember clearly times when we were treated by the drug companies. They would come in and visit the owner. He was the pharmacist. And so I always remember just, to expect nice food and, just top-notch everything, because that's how it was when they would come to visit. I never inquired about why they were there. I just knew that when Merck and Pfizer came to talk to the pharmacist, that we were in for a treat. So, and little did I know that at that time there was actually, until later on I found out that there was actually a ban on those type of activities, because that's considered a possible ulterior motive to influence the medical professionals, so the pharmacists, the doctors. If you want to look into this further, it's called the Physicians Sunshine Act. So it just tells you a little more about the expectations to explain why these pharmaceutical companies came in and spent thousands of dollars, or banning gifts and so on and so forth. That Physicians Act is there to protect us. So. Now, with all the concerns I've shared with you, does this mean you should stop taking your prescriptions or never take a medication, ever? No. First, do not ever stop taking a medication abruptly. That could cause an adverse side effect and even death. So, for one, you should never stop taking it. Just, okay, I don't want to take my med, let's not take it tomorrow. And you should always consult a medical professional, because they'll advise you. And, of course, remember that doctors don't know everything, so there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion. Also, when considering prescriptions, as my friend told me, you must consider what you're willing to risk when you're considering treating your condition. So, she told me a story about a friend of hers who had been admitted to a hospital with a heart attack. And because this hospital had a bad reputation, he refused the stent surgery that they offered him to save his life or to help his heart. He went home, he started feeling better, he was taking a cholesterol medication that the doctor prescribed him, until he found out that medication could increase his chances of a stroke or a heart attack. So he refused to take it at that point, and instead he chose a healthier alternative diet and exercise, and this actually did improve his overall health. So this is one example of how to consider other options when weighing the pros and cons of prescription medications. I could go on, but this list, this subject is extensive, and the list goes on, both good and bad. So let's just review a couple of the pointers. That prescriptions aren't always safe. If anything, they cause some harmful side effects for the most part. And so making informed decisions and considering the risks would be the wisest, if you ask me. Personally, I prefer to be prescription-free, but who knows, one day, if I don't have any other option and I need a medication, I can't say that I wouldn't consider it at that time. Thank you.